All right, now, hello everybody, and welcome to Jim and Friends Read the News. My name is Jim Van Vonderen, and I am the producer of this show. The things you will hear over the next hour represent the views of Jim and Friends Read the News and the people making them. All opinions and quotations in no way represent River West Radio and are the sole responsibility of the producer, guests, and callers. River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from the content of this program. Today is July 15th, 2012. And with us, we have Zavel Pate and Gabe Hammer.
Hey.
Thanks, guys. So, how was everyone's weekend?
Oh, was it the weekend?
It was. I missed it, too.
For me, there's no distinction. All the days blur together.
Yep.
The only thing about the weekend is that I can't go to the gym because they're closed.
Well, there was Bastille Days.
I went to Bastille Days with Elmo.
Yep.
We had a beignet and coffee. I had the coffee, chicory coffee, at my sister's work stand, the Alliance Française. And Bastille, I'm happy to report that Bastille Days is a lot like every Bastille Days since the first Bastille Days.
It's no surprises.
Not many surprises.
Not too many surprises.
It's
That's
a lot of the
though.
same vendors, the same dude painted silver doing like a
We got one of
robot
those
mime.
guys.
Yeah, he's always there.
Yep.
Corey the bike fixer freaked out because Elmo took the bike, and of course, because Elmo's a little black kid, Corey thought he was stealing it and ran after him. Made a big scene because he's Corey the bike fixer, and I guess he had it right because Elmo was pushing his luck, and Elmo was riding into the crowd, and that Corey was afraid he'd get sued or something if Elmo crashed.
Yeah.
What else
Something
happened?
bad happened.
I don't know.
But
It was okay. I had a good time. Elmo had a great time.
I've never made it to a Bastille Days yet. I could have made
yeah.
it this time around, but I was just busy doing moving and packing stuff. So I should have went down there just to see it if anything else. But next year, every year, they have it every year.
Yeah.
Be around again.
Yeah, it'll be the same. It's like cast in amber.
What's not the same is the Brewers season from last year. Last year at this point in time, this is the All-Star break, I should mention. So we are at the All-Star break. It's looking like Ryan Braun has another MVP run available to him here. He's having another good year. People are talking about him being in the hunt for another MVP year. So that's good. But what's not good is the Brewers' record. 40-45 this year at the break. Last year at this time, they were 49-43. Which tells you they had played a couple more games before the All-Star break last year, but whatever. Either way, losing by under 5 games, or 5 games under 500 this year, whereas last year they were 6 games above 500. So it's an 11-game swing, never good in the sports news. As I like to start with that, and Packers training camp only 2 weeks away.
Oh.
So
what happens at the Packers training camp?
They train and they decide how many of I believe they have like 90 guys at the beginning, and only 53 will make the active roster, with another 8, I believe, on the practice squad. So 61 guys will make it out of like 90. So
is there a high turnover in baseball?
Well, that's football.
Oh, football.
The Packers, yeah.
Packers, yeah.
High
That's
turnovers, yeah. The training camp, yeah. A lot of people in training camps for football. I don't know how baseball is. I feel like there's less. They don't do like tons of people in training camp like they do in football with baseball.
Yeah.
But my mic's having an issue. Okay. But they definitely do that. Like the bring the numbers to training camp in football.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But anyway, 2 weeks away.
But well, I guess I was asking, is the turnover high? Like, do they get rid of a bunch and get new ones every year, players?
Oh yeah, it's pretty high
Really?
turnover.
Really?
Football, yeah.
Like,
I think the expected is 2 to 3 years or something is your expected average playing time
Wow.
as a player if you make the team. Which that's not very high, I would say.
Yeah. So it's
is
really
why-
the cream
yeah.
of the cream.
Which is why the NFL always spends a lot of time and money, which they're good at this.
What percentage of the players are actually from the state that they play on it? I mean,
probably
generally
very
speaking,
few.
very few. They're just
Yeah.
from all over the place.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
So teams are just composed of
It's
good players
It's America.
that they can afford.
It's America.
That whatever
That's
team
it.
can, they're like franchises, and then the franchise can afford
Well,
certain players that
kind of. Not
kind
to
of bid
begin
on
with.
them or something.
Not to begin with. Begin with
Uh-huh.
is a draft, which is just everyone is just drafted, kind of
Yeah.
like
Like the military.
like the military. You're just drafted, and that's the team you're on. So you don't get to go by where the money is necessarily right away.
Oh,
Although
really?
there have been instances.
So what is the criteria? How do you end up on the Packers versus, I don't know, some other?
The Packers will draft you. And
So
then
they choose you. They like you.
They choose you, and they own the rights to you, and you can't play for any other team unless you get that contract. Either that they'll trade you away to a different team. Like this has happened. Eli Manning was drafted by a team that I do not remember, but he didn't want to play for him. So he refused to play and kind of forced their hand, and they ended up trading him to the Giants.
Oh, really?
Because he was like, I don't want to play for this team, blah, blah, blah. It was a big stink. I believe
that-
John Elway did that
Does that
as
happen
well.
a lot or not very often?
Not very often.
Uh-huh.
Usually people are pretty happy with just go with the team.
Uh-huh.
It does hurt your negotiating, obviously, when you do this, something like that. So
Yeah,
I would say
unless you're
agents-
if you're like a superstar or something.
Right. Well, and that you have to prove yourself, of course. So once you're in the league for 2 years or something,
Mm-hmm.
and people know that you're gonna make it, then that's when you start getting your high salaries.
Yeah.
Which that was the NFL union.
So, I mean, just out of curiosity, do states like California and New York have better teams in general
No,
than other
because
states?
the NFL is very socialist, actually, in nature.
Like
in that
union, kind of
they have
unionized.
very strong, very, very strong player union, and with that, they also have profit sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the profits are equally divided amongst the teams.
Yeah.
There's a salary cap that's a very hard cap that teams cannot pay more money than other teams. So all the teams have to spend the same amount of money.
Uh-huh.
As far as keeping everything at a very equal point, NFL, I believe, does it better than any league,
Really?
probably in the world.
Better than
Really?
basketball and baseball.
Oh, by far.
Really?
Well, I mean, baseball doesn't even have a cap, so they don't even. There's no equality there.
Yeah.
The NFL has always made a very concerted effort to keep everything in as equal a playing field as possible when it comes to money, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's also kept salaries down because you do get high salaries in the NFL, but not as outrageous as NBA and Major League Baseball contracts.
Uh-huh.
You see. Which is funny to me, well, maybe not funny, but interesting to me in that NFL, I feel, is obviously the far riskier sport to play than basketball or baseball. Not to say you can end up hurt pretty bad in there, but I mean, NFL is just
Right, yeah,
constantly
your body
you're
gets-
just constant collisions.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah.
you do is just time
Baseball,
over and
you're
over
not
and
gonna
just
get hurt like
you're
that.
just colliding with people as
Mm-hmm.
fast and hard as you can. So that's
Yeah.
obviously pretty bad for your body.
Yeah.
So you think they would be on the higher end of the pay spectrum, but actually
Yeah.
because of business, the superstars aren't as highly paid. Although Drew Brees just signed a 5-year, $100 million contract extension, so he's making $200 million or $20 million a year.
Wow.
So that's not bad.
Yeah. 20. Yeah.
So I shouldn't say it's not like they're not making money, but
Well, that makes me feel better about football.
no, I've always liked football for the business. I mean, I like football for the sport, but the business aspect, I think, is something that many sports could learn from on how they do their business.
Yeah.
So, if you don't like sports and you just like business, you should look at how the NFL does things. They're very fair. I was proud of the NFL's fairness.
Well, Speaking along in sports, moving right along in sports news, a woman recently in the news here. There's a woman who, for the past 10 years, has been watching. Oh no, I see. Sorry. There's a woman who recently was discovered to be watching NASCAR together with her husband for the last 18 months, even though he was dead.
18 months watching NASCAR with a dead guy.
Dead husband.
With her dead husband.
That is wild.
Wow.
Ziegler, known as Charlie, died naturally, and Linda Chase, that's the woman.
How old?
He just fell asleep, she says. Oh, I don't know. They don't say how old he was. She kept him in his chair after he died, keeping him dressed and cleaned. His body did not stink, she said.
So she dressed and cleaned him for 18 months.
Yep. And she would talk to him and watch NASCAR races on TV with him.
Wow. That's, I
It's
don't know what to say.
It's disturbing.
Yeah, it's disturbing. I guess.
Sad.
I wonder what happened to her, because obviously there's something, I mean, who lives 18 months with a dead guy and doesn't have some...
It says here, I didn't want to be alone. He was the only guy who was ever nice to me.
Wow.
The thing about it to me is that somehow it's focused on NASCAR, but obviously she spent like all the time
with him. Right. I don't think NASCAR is the biggest part of the story here.
Similar story
That's
over
like
here.
a very side note to living with a dead guy for 18 months.
A German left his mother dead seated in her favorite armchair at a shared home for 2 years because he could not face organizing a funeral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
2 years. 18 months and 2 years.
It looks
With
like
people
this was in
oh,
Russia. But yeah, similar story here.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess this isn't exactly the same, but I've always heard of the worst story where people would take like their deceased grandmothers or something and put them into like a freezer in the basement so they could keep collecting the security checks.
Wow.
Sounds like it could be a plot for a movie.
Right? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that was always one that I don't know if that's true.
Well, you know what?
It's like the urban
in all
legend.
fairness, if I had a family, well, I don't know. I guess maybe it would be a little too creepy. But if I died and someone was collecting money on my dead, off of me,
off of your dead.
I wouldn't mind if they did that. I would, I mean,
You
it's,
wouldn't
at
mind
least
if
you're
they put
helping
you
them
in
out.
the-
You're helping your family members out.
So what you're saying is you wouldn't mind if you were dead to be put into a freezer so that your family could keep getting the checks.
I guess it's a little, it would just be, it's a little too much for money. It does seem, but I guess in all fairness, like it's not that, I wouldn't be offended if someone, well, I guess the only thing about it is it would seem sort of like, all they care about is my money.
Right.
They don't care about me. So, yeah, I guess that's bad.
Nobody put their grandmothers in their freezer.
Yeah, that seems really
done, please.
Messed up.
Please.
Plus that your freezer bill would be really high.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I don't know. Never mind. Never mind. I'm going to stay away from that one. So, all right, let's move on from the dead people stories. Gabe, I believe you have the Jazz Gallery here on Center Street.
The announcements of the summer schedule of events here. Tonight, the Peters Schlam Trio is playing for a $5 suggested donation. They're there for 10 o'clock, so just about another 45 minutes or so. But
there you go.
I was just there. They sound awesome. Very, very versed trio playing. Also, July 19th, Jay Anderson Group is playing at the Jazz Gallery. Every Tuesday night, they have a jam run by Gino Samlai. I believe that is from 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock, which I can never make. And let's see, July 20th, Devin Drubka with the Luke Hoplanick and John Christensen. That's from 7 to 10. Two more in July. This one, it says RW24. I'm not sure what that is, but that's July 27th and 28th. And the Luis Diaz Quintet, that's on July 28th from 7 till 10. Okay, yeah, so this group must be opening for the other. But yeah, that's at 926 East Center Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53212. And it's just down the street from where we are.
It's just called just the Jazz Gallery, or does it have like?
It's just the Jazz Gallery Center for the Arts.
Oh, so, okay, Jazz Gallery Center for the Arts.
Yeah, it's a really cool building. If you've ever been there, they have the art walk, every year. They have a ton of really neat stuff, and it's just down the street. And
right here on Center Street.
And what's really cool, has a really long history too of different jazz musicians that were huge back in the 60s and 70s used to play over there. Art Blakey, Sonny Stitt, they have a whole book full of all the big names that went through there. They sell it over there. So
Well,
good
come
deal.
check it out.
All right.
And we have our box outside, which is a radio announcement box. And one of our announcements, do you want to read this one, Jim? I'll read the other one.
All right. The first announcement is, I guess this was for Gabe. More salsa music on the radio, baby.
And then
right.
This was a shout out. I'm not sure which side begins, but it says here, thanks, Mark Solheim, formerly of Mad Planet, for the Skeleton Witch Weed Eater Show. Skeleton Witch / Weed Eater Show. That show got us on tour. Thanks, Rhythm 6.
Yeah.
You know what that is, Rhythm 6?
No, I couldn't figure that one out.
Bryson Townsend, 8 years plus. Shout out, finally, after 8 years of slamming it, River West Kids got on the map. Get on the map. Metal Blade Tour, Lazarus AD, and Rhythm 6.
All right.
All right, whatever that means.
That's some musicians getting out there.
We put
getting
it
on
out there.
tour. That's good.
Yeah, we put it out there for you.
That's good. I don't know if I have from the Alcoholmanac here, the Milwaukee Alcoholmanac, the June-July issue. I don't know if it was last week. I think it was the week before. We did a drink of mojitos recipe.
Oh, yeah.
I got a new drink recipe for everyone. So everyone get your pad of paper, get your pen. This is cilantro and spice from Pour Your Poison, and there's a pouryourpoison.com. I know I think there's a Pick Your Poison. A friend of mine does Pick Your Poison on YouTube. So if you're ever on YouTube, you can check Pick Your Poison, and they do a nice little drinks-orientated YouTube segments on there. Cilantro and spice, though, is this month. They're one of the ones here. First, your ingredients. Ounce and a half of, it says Captain Morgan Black, but just black rum. And there you go. Black rum. Ounce and a half of black rum. 1 ounce pineapple syrup. Half of 1 lime. A pinch of cilantro. And 4 drops of Bitter Cube Jamaican No. 1 bitters. Maybe you could find some other bitters, but they are suggesting Bitter Cube Jamaican No. 1, 4 drops. So anyway, you muddle the lime and shake all the ingredients together in a cocktail shaker, and strain over crushed ice. Top with ice if needed, and fill glass with ginger beer and a float of Angostura bitters, so some more bitters. Garnish with a lime wheel and a sprig of cilantro. So that's a cilantro and spice. I'll do it one more time. 1.5 ounces of black rum, 1 ounce pineapple syrup, half of 1 lime, pinch of cilantro, 4 drops Butter Cube Jamaican No. 1 bitters. You muddle that all up, run it through the cocktail shaker, strain it over ice, crushed ice, and top with ginger beer if you'd like. And you can pop in a little bit of Angostura bitters if you'd like.
Sounds kind of like Dark and Stormy a little bit.
A little bit. It's got the black rum in it.
The black rum and the ginger beer.
Yep.
And does it have lime too?
It does have lime. half of one lime.
It's got all the ingredients right there. What else?
Yeah, the Jamaican bitters. I've never.
Jamaican bitter.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'll have to
Whatever
check
it is,
my
it sounds
local
pretty
alcohol depot for some Jamaican bitters. I'm sure it's wrong.
good.
But from the Alcoholmanac, always keeping you updated with the different things. Oh, another thing that I got from them was Great Lakes Distillery, which is Milwaukee's local distillery here, came out. They have an apple brandy. Apple brandy sounds very
Yeah, I've
interesting.
had that. It's really good.
Is it? Yeah, it sounds good. Apple brandy. I like the sound of that.
This is just, well, I guess we'd have to find out if it's apple, real apple made from apples or just flavored
Oh, they
by
make it
No,
chemicals.
it's from real apples. Yeah, it's like
they do everything natural over there.
yeah, it's pretty.
Oh.
They're all about the natural.
Local stuff too.
I like that about the. Well, I think we talked about the lakefront before too. They like to do that as well. First ever certified organic beer in the
Really?
country.
Whoa.
And they also have the Wisconsinite, which has the possibly first North American yeast
Oh.
for their yeast, and it's Wisconsin made. I forgot the name of it. You can pick it up. If you go to Great Lakes, or not Great Lakes Distillery. If you go to Lakefront Beers shop, you can get the yeast from them. They sell it to people because they're trying to get more people to use that yeast. So, if you are a home brewer, go over to Lakefront, pick up some yeast from them. Try that out. It's Wisconsin yeast. It's good for you. And then, so that's the Alcoholmanac. And then, Sav, you wanted to talk a little bit about the big oil. I know you got a.
Yeah, there are quite a few.
You're upset.
Oh, it's such a general thing. But I could talk a little bit about what's happening with climate change.
right.
Because obviously we're facing some pretty strange weather these days. Well, for one thing, the head activist in the Maldives, which is I think it's a series of islands that are slowly being flooded away, so they're actually disappearing.
Where are they?
They're in the Pacific, I believe.
Okay.
And there are these islands that are where it's probably one of the first major victims of global climate change or of global warming. Not that, I mean, people can debate whether or not it's human caused or not, but the Maldives climate, or one of the people who's like the most adamant supporters of, or who's like fighting climate change on the Maldives, was arrested and taken away to prison.
Oh.
In a violent crackdown there for demonstrating against the
Really?
government. Yep, that's the top of the news at 360.org or 350.org, which is they're kind of one of the main websites working to fight climate change or
Okay.
to raise awareness about climate change.
350.org.
Yep. Bill McKibben is sort of the lead spokesperson for that.
Do you have any other good
organization.
websites or places to check out for this information?
Well, I think, all you have to do is type in
Affecting,
climate change and you probably find all kinds of stuff.
Right. I was thinking if you knew of any more reputable, the internet's full of everything. So if you knew
Yeah.
some more better reputable sources to help narrow it down.
I think the internet is a great source because it is so diverse that you can listen to some people talk about that they don't believe that climate change is a reality, and then other groups of people who make pretty strong arguments in favor of that theory, I guess, and that we need to change how we affect the environment. And maybe I'll play a little clip from from Bill McKibben on this website, where he talks about an interesting factoid.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna jump right into it, and we'll see if we catch it at a good point here.
Almost as a sociological divide, like this distrust that I think meteorologists have for climatologists.
Okay, he's talking about how meteorologists versus the public, the number of meteorologists who believe that climate change is caused by human behavior versus the public is much lower.
Really?
Yeah.
So meteorologists,
not climate scientists,
But
because climate scientists is something like 90% or more.
think that it's a lot to do with people.
Yeah,
But
absolutely convinced.
meteorologists
But
don't
meteorologists,
think
the
so.
guys who get hired by the big, news organizations to report the weather.
Yep.
19 are here. Well, I'll run the clip.
All right.
Talking about the weather we've been all experiencing and watching, and in some parts of the country genuinely suffering through, and its connection to the fact that we're warming the planet. And at the top, Bill McKibben's with us from 350.org. At the top, Bill, I was talking about this climatologist-meteorologist divide in terms of almost as a sociological divide, like this distrust that I think meteorologists have for climatologists from some of the reporting I've seen. This is some data we have on this. This is the George Mason University Yale Project on Climate Change that surveyed people's belief in human-caused global warming. Americans come in around 46% believe that humans are causing global warming. Meteorologists come in at 19%, which seems to me really a big part of the problem, because that's where people are getting their day-to-day information about.
Yeah, so that's from MSNBC, a program called Up, and the guy who we were listening to is called Chris Hayes. And anyway, so that just tells you something, because meteorologists are, they're hired news anchors of weather.
Right.
And
That's where you get your weather from.
And that's where you get your weather from. And 46% of American people, they weren't saying, it was kind of a weird statistic, because he started by saying climatologists versus meteorologists, and then he gave the American, what Americans thought. Americans are 46%. He didn't say that climatologists are somewhere in the 90%,
Right.
90 percentile. And then the meteorologists are 19%. And so what...
I wonder why.
Yeah, well, Bill McKibben, I mean, if you want, I could find
Is
what
that
Bill,
what he says,
what Bill McKibben's response to that is. Let me see. Because I kind of cut it short, but oops, I keep doing something weird here. Oh, I see what I have to do. Let's hear what he has to say.
Try and get them to deal forthrightly. I think the biggest problem actually is the one you alluded to in your opening with your local station there in Washington, who wouldn't even give you the footage of the weather forecast. The local stations are terrified of the kind of right-wing pressure on this, and they pass the word down. All of that is going to come out in the wash, because at this point, Americans can't help but see with their own eyes what's going on. The
experiencing
percentage
and
of
watching
Americans
in some
who
parts
believe
of
in
the country
global warming is
genuinely
actually much higher than that now. It's gone up
its
a lot.
connection to the fact that we're warming the planet. And at the top, Bill McKibben.
A little bit of a double there.
Yeah, but yeah,
we
you
get-
basically get the idea. I clicked a bunch of windows, they opened up, and then I started playing at the same time. But yeah, you basically get the idea that there's something going on in terms of the news structure of our culture, of our country, that we get our information through the corporate media, basically, and that media, those organizations are very strongly related to all the big business in our country, and so it's probably in the interests of big business not to report about global warming. And there are some really good reasons why. Obviously, oil companies have a lot of interest in people continuing to burn oil. Auto industry has a lot of interest in people continuing to drive cars. And all the other industries have a strong interest in people to continue consuming goods, which which are all participating in sort of generating more and more energy consumption, which leads to which purportedly leads to global warming through CO2.
Right.
And go ahead.
That's what keeps the economy going. You got to keep people
Right.
buying.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw a nice Facebook post. Old Professor Ryan Sernowski wrote that you really see the waste of America on the end of college move-out day.
Oh yeah.
Because you drive through all the towns and just see all the junk that people are throwing out, and it's every year just mounds and mounds of people's
Right.
stuff that they throw out every year from,
that's the things
from college kids moving
Right.
out.
Good time for scrap metal.
Yeah, there you go.
Scrap plastic and
Yeah.
scrap IKEA.
Or
furniture.
just, freegans who want to cheaply decorate their home.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Buy many pieces of furniture around the street.
Yeah.
Well, along the lines of this topic, Russia Today announces that the USDA says that America is experiencing its biggest disasters, the most disasters in American history right now. More than half of the United States hosts areas considered natural disaster sites by the USDA. Following a ravaging dry spell that has left more than 1,000 counties in 26 states destroyed. They say droughts and fires are to blame for their recent labeling, and among those affected, around 1/3 of the country's farmers, which contributes to making this the largest ever of its kind. And it's just going to get worse every year.
Yep.
This is like, it's next year it'll be worse than this year, most likely, probably, right?
Well-
I mean, from the looks of things.
That's what it looks like. And you know what we're going to end up having to do? Let me tell you.
Okay.
So this comes from the Wisconsin Gazette. It's from the Things to Do Between Milwaukee and Madison section here of this Gazette. They're just talking about different things to go see between Milwaukee and Madison, to go countryside. Well, Get Legendary is the name of the article here, and the Jefferson County community of Lake Mills calls itself legendary, largely because of its connections to Aztalan State Park. Is that how? Site of some unusual signs of early Native American habitation. Legend has it that stone pyramids found at the bottom of the 1,371-acre rock lake around which the town circles were altars for sacrifices to the gods during an unseasonably long drought centuries ago, and that the lake itself was the gods' answers. Regardless of the past, Lake Mills bustles with current. So now they're telling you to go Lake Mills. But
that's why I know Azatlan. That's on. If you bike from Milwaukee to Madison, you go through there.
Oh, okay.
And it's right near Lake Mills. Yeah.
Yep. And apparently, we keep this drought up. We're gonna have to create some altars and start doing some sacrifices
Right. So we need
to get a new lake. So let's not.
So
do
it sounds
that.
like we need to make some sacrifices.
Well, the sacrifices of our wasteful culture.
And we were talking about this earlier, and you were saying, I wonder what we should sacrifice. And I said, well, I know we should sacrifice some of these oil companies, I think should be sacrificed at the Lake Azatlan.
Some of those corporations are just going to have to go.
I think that also we should sacrifice some companies like Walmart, which are burning tons of not just oil, but jobs and people's the safety net for a lot of people throughout the country by using mass amounts of capital to just wipe out small businesses and local businesses, keeping the money within the local area, and basically becoming like a big siphon that sucks all the money to the Walton family, and they own more money than some countries.
Yep.
So people say, I mean, you were saying that, you like Walmart because they have good prices and they're convenient, and I agree, that's true. And
I also like the NFL, which is like a bunch of corporations, but they share the wealth.
Right.
That's the thing that they do.
Yeah, and
that
I mean,
keeps them.
I'm not.
Which we don't have that. We don't have corporations sharing the wealth throughout the country.
Yeah, exactly. And
If they were doing that, it might be a little different.
yeah, it'd be all good in a sense.
Right.
You know, I mean, if Walmart would behave in a less aggressive and parasitic manner,
Right.
but and instead, like, you know, really fostered local. I don't even know how you could do that with a Walmart. It's so. It's like
How do you make Walmart local?
It's in its DNA.
I feel like
not to be local, but
I feel
if
like
they
it could
somehow
be, though.
then there's nothing wrong with a one-stop shopping.
You also have like the Woodmans, which is kind of like a chain, but
better,
it's employee owned somehow.
Right.
I forget how that works, but maybe if
Yeah.
Walmart restructure, and now they're not going to want to do that because
No.
the people at top would have to actually be willing
They'd
to
have
give
to
up.
give something.
They would have to be willing.
Well, they'd have to
they
give
would
up-
have to be willing to sacrifice.
So that's why we have to sacrifice them.
So because they're not willing to sacrifice
So,
for the better of everybody.
That's
I guess
what we
it's the
will
only
have to
thing
do
we
is make a
do.
we will have to sacrifice some of these people
Some way.
and some of these
Oh,
organizations.
man.
And actually, corporations are people supposedly, so we can do a sacrifice of them as
man.
people.
Be careful what we say on the internet here. The Waltons after us.
That would be great. Well, speaking of protesting and sacrificing and so on, some tomatoes were thrown at Hillary Clinton. Shoes and tomatoes were thrown at Hillary Clinton recently.
Okay.
She was pelted. Her motorcade was pelted with tomatoes and shoes. Well, I guess this was reported 5 hours ago. I don't know what time it was in Cairo, but they threw
Tomatoes and shoes.
tomatoes at her along with shoes.
Probably anything they could get their
Since
hands
the election
on.
of President Mohamed Morsi, but I don't know how to pronounce it. I tried really hard.
Yeah.
A tomato struck an Egyptian official in the face. And shoes and a water bottle landed near the armored cars carrying Clinton's delegation to Alexandria, to the port city of Alexandria.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, we had covered that Egyptian race a while ago. I know there was a lot of corruption going into that race. I forget who's who because it's hard for me to keep track people's names that I can't pronounce to begin with.
Right.
So then to try and keep track of who's not. But so yeah, so they don't like Hillary Clinton either.
Well, yeah. I mean, they don't like.
Well, they
They don't like the new.
yeah.
The I don't know the details, but you know, with the Egyptian ousting of Mubarak,
right.
the Muslim Brotherhood, I believe, is now leading the show a little bit, and I guess I don't really know. I'd have to get. I'm sure some of our listeners know more than we do about this, but it's one of those things. You know, the Egyptian Spring looked really good, but underneath it all, there's all kinds of power play going on, and of course,
Always.
things don't ever really end up the way the people want it, and it's more, you know, the way the military and the powers that be want it. And the United States has a big hand in what goes on in all over the world, especially in key nations like Egypt. So that's why people are frustrated. And they were chanting, which I think is a little bit off color. They were chanting Monica, Monica.
Oh, yeah.
Or Monica,
Monica.
Monica.
Oh,
So
wow.
I have a friend named Monica.
They knew how to.
Yeah,
Well, they're
Monica.
cutting right to
Yeah,
the
they're
jugular on that one. Well, you know, if you're gonna heckle, like,
Yeah, it's a little cheap.
yeah, well,
Just goes to show people are
sure.
people.
Yep. Oh, I
you
want to follow up that Aztalan State Park one a little bit because I really like this. So the fans of ancient history, which is me, as I saw a lot of that in Ireland, just thinking that this is so close, will enjoy Aztalan State Park, a site of one of the country's best preserved examples of a unique Native American culture. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places, Aztalan was the site of a thriving community that historians refer to as the Middle Mississippian tradition, which existed from the 10th to the 13th centuries. So it's a lot older than I would have thought. 10th to 13th centuries. The community characterized by massive platform earthworks that were used for religious as well as social purposes was an important stop on the trading route between the Great Lakes and the Gulf Coast. Then it goes more and more. It's in Jefferson County. It's a 172-acre park. But if you're interested in that really old ancient cultures and communities, that's something to check out. I didn't realize something like that was so close.
It's such a strange name, Aztlan.
Aztlan. It doesn't seem like something that I would think of being in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it sounds like something you'd hear of in Mexico or in Arizona or something.
The name Aztlan, originally used by Mexico's Aztec people to describe a land in the north from which they believed they originated, was given to the ancient settlement because of the similarities between the earthworks and the design of the Aztec temples. The park offers audio tours, all that stuff. So it is Aztec in nature. But apparently the Aztecs believe that they came from this northern land, which that goes with the story of going over the Bering Strait and all that stuff. Which apparently there's even more now with that, which I can't remember. But look up some recent articles on Google for the people coming over the Bering Strait, because apparently there's new evidence in how that worked out. Oh, there's something with spearheads that wasn't using the same spearheads as the community that they originally thought, so they think there's an even earlier one. So there's more developments in that too, if anyone's into that type of stuff. The Bering Strait stuff.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Ancestors.
Russia Today, I'm quoting from them again, war in August, it asks. U.S. sends fourth aircraft carrier and dozens of underwater drones towards Iran. Underwater drones.
Well, that makes sense. I mean...
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah, I never really thought of it either, but yeah.
The U.S. Navy has unexpectedly dispatched a fourth aircraft carrier to the Persian Gulf. I didn't know that we already had one, that we even had any aircraft carriers in the Persian Gulf, but I guess it makes sense. Along with a fleet of underwater drones in what is being considered just the latest move in a series of escalations leading towards a potential war with Iran.
Well, geez.
Which is horrifying.
Just think about these underwater drones, though. I mean, you could just have a fleet of torpedoes flying around. There's no reason that it's not an explosive that's the drone.
Oh yeah.
So
they say that, also you don't have to worry about feeding anyone or giving anyone oxygen. You don't need food or oxygen. You just need power, but that's it. The deployment of dozens of small unmanned submarine-like watercraft confirmed by the LA Times this week.
I wouldn't doubt they'd be able to shoot out of the water either at this point.
That they could do what?
Shoot out of the water.
Oh yeah,
we already shoot out of the water. We already shoot stuff out of the water, so I don't see why these drones can just get close and pop up out of the water and.
Oh yeah, I'm sure whatever you could do with a submarine, you could do with an unmanned submarine. Everything's automated.
Well, I mean, it'd be its own little thing, so you don't even have to shoot anything out of it. It is it.
Oh, it could be amphibious.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. Yeah, exactly. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're on the way if they don't exist already.
This particular type of craft, unmanned Seafox submersibles, are reported to be sent to the Gulf so that the U.S. military can detect and destroy any mines that may be planted in the waterway by Iranian officials if they escalate efforts to block the Strait of Hormuz. So maybe they're expecting that a little bit. And of course, the Strait of Hormuz is a strategically important narrow stretch of water that exists in an immensely important conduit for any resources being moved in or out of the Middle East, including oil, which is the lifeline of modern society.
Well, of industry since the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I mean everything, right? Because everything's made with oil.
Yeah, everything.
Everything you see is made with oil in one way or another, just about.
Or transports it.
Unless it's made organically, which is pretty rare.
Very true.
So, well, I hope that smarter, what do you call it? Wiser minds will prevail, but I have a feeling. I have a feeling we're not anywhere near that.
I haven't seen a lot of that recently, but
yeah.
Well, with that, Comic-Con's going on in California.
Comic-Con.
So, speaking of the wiser minds, The Onion has its comics issue for Comic-Con.
What does The Onion have to say about Comic-Con?
Onion has a lot of things to say, kind of about what we've been talking about, actually. For one, in the highlights, Captain Actual America, who is lounging on the couch on the cover here, is overweight, hopelessly in debt. That's Captain Actual America. Economically healthy Daily Planet, now most unrealistic part of the Superman universe. So the newspaper, of course, is apparently doing fine. The Daily Planet's doing fine in the DC Comics, which obviously doesn't make sense anymore because there are no newspapers who are doing fine.
Except for Jim and Friends Read the News.
Well, right, yeah.
We're not a newspaper.
We don't put it to paper.
Not yet.
We're keeping yeah.
We're going the other way. We're going to become.
That's right.
We're going to do singing news soon.
Yeah. Ooh, we'll bring that in. Comic-Con, once again marred by increasingly popular BullyCon, which is right next door. And we also have the convention goers looking forward to getting John Romita Jr. in a headlock. That's the people at BullyCon. And Obama disappointed cabinet failed to understand his reference to Savage World of Conan number 24. And this kind of goes with the ancestry thing. Area man has far greater knowledge of Marvel Universe than his own family tree. So, a lot going on at Comic-Con. This one I want to throw out here because The Onion is always very harsh on films. They gave Moonrise Kingdom an A. Did you see that one?
Gave him an A?
Yep, Moonrise Kingdom,
So
the
that-
new
is that a-
Wes Anderson movie.
Is that good or bad? Because
An A is good.
okay, so
They do grades A, B, C, D,
do
F.
they do A+?
They do A+, but hardly ever will you see an A+.
Okay.
It's usually B's and C's. I mean, like in this, they have like 10 movies on here. Only one got an A. A lot of B's, a lot of C's. So Moonrise Kingdom, I want to see that one. Have you seen that?
Yeah, well, I do a movie review show with my friend Gabe.
Put a little plug out there.
Yeah, it's Gabe and Friends Read the News, and you can click on it.
Gabe and friends read the news.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Well, I just conflated everything because there's a Gabe here, and then and also I always laugh because your name is Jim Van Vonderen, and I work with Gabe Van Handel. It's
the Vans.
My Dinner with Gabe, which is a play on My Dinner with Andre, which is a film that a lot of people probably know is kind of notoriously sort of pushing the limits of what is a film kind of. But anyway, we reviewed Moonrise Kingdom, and I really loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I thought it was
Wes Anderson a lot.
kind of my favorite Wes Anderson film so far.
I've heard that, and
Yeah.
I like a lot. I like all of his.
I have to say, Rushmore, I was blown away by. Bottle Rocket was great, and then everything in between was okay.
Didn't really like Tenenbaums.
Royal Tenenbaums was among them. I would say Royal Tenenbaums was the best of them for me.
For the middle ones.
I feel like Fantastic Mr. Fox was my least favorite, and but it makes a big difference if you see a film in a theater or if you see it on DVD.
Good point.
And I think the ones I see in a theater I usually enjoy more. But this one somehow was just kind of like really great. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film. So, and to illustrate that, and I think I brought this up when we were reviewing it, the audience clapped. Which I think that says a lot when an audience claps for a movie. And the only time that usually happens is at a film festival,
Right.
or like when the people who made the movie are in the theater.
Right.
But they're not. There was no one who made the movie in the theater, and they were clapping. Even the projectionist probably didn't hear the clapping.
right.
So I thought
crazy.
that said something.
That does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get clapping at the theaters like.
Yeah. Once in a while, people will clap when you land, when your airplane lands. Have you ever had that happen?
yeah, we just had that for the last.
Especially
Ireland
usually
trip
when it's
people
kind of a
did the
harrowing
clap.
flight, like
Yeah. was a long
when everyone's
one,
kind of
so I
scared.
guess.
Well, we should probably start wrapping
we gotta
up
start wrapping
in the
up.
next
We only got
few
5 minutes. We got
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Singing the news?
Yeah, I should. I'll find a news story, or maybe you guys can choose one, or
one that we can try and sing.
Yeah.
What
boy.
about the political election coming up here?
Oh, you want something about Romney?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
oh
okay.
boy.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I was. I actually was.
We've done a good job. Well, we hadn't talked about it. I guess big oil and stuff.
We've done a good job.
That is politics.
We've
these
done a
days,
good
anyway.
job of staying away from Romney and Obama.
Yeah.
We tried.
Except who were we talking? Oh no, we were talking about.
Well, we all missed President Obama's reference to Conan, Savage Conan number 24.
Oh right.
that was as much of
Is that a
Obama's
comic
we got.
book or?
Savage
Savage
Conan.
Conan.
Savage Conan. I think it was.
Is that the same thing as Conan the
Or
Barbarian?
Conan the Savage. Yeah, it's like the same vein, but it's not.
But different.
It's the comic book.
Not Conan the O'Brien.
Hold on.
Okay, so can you give me a little?
was.
Oh wait, you want to find that, Jim, while I sing
Yes,
the
go for it.
Romney
Please.
song?
Please.
Okay.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's a good rhythm. Oh, do you want to start?
It was the Savage Sword. I'm sorry. The Savage Sword. I can't say. Savage Sword of Conan number 24.
Okay.
All right, we're good. Just for all the comic
Romney
fans out there.
attacks Obama's negative campaigning with a negative ad of his own.
Two negatives
Mitt
equal one
Romney
right.
is responding to what he calls President Obama's negative campaigning with a new negative ad of his own. A new Romney television ad released Sunday features a series of political pundits questioning whether Obama and his abandoned message of hope and change pursue attacks on the presumptive Republican nominee. When the president was elected, he talked about hope and change. Whatever happened to hope and change? CBS News' Bob Schieffer is shown saying, now it seems he's just coming right out of the box with these old-fashioned negative ads. The 30-second ad also features New York Times' David Brooks, who mentions Obama's inaccurate ads. It also features a clip from an MSNBC interview in June with Time Magazine's Mark Halperin, who says, Obama and his allies will run more negative ads against this Republican nominee in 2012 than ever have been run in the history of the world. In the history of the world. The ad concludes by repeating footage of the Schieffer asking, whatever happened to the hope and change?
What happened to the change?
Romney campaign has not said where and when the ad will, or how much media time will be reserved for the spot.
More media time.
Elizabeth, a spokesman for the Obama campaign, slammed the spot, suggesting that Romney's trying to avoid questions about him and his record at the Bain Capital. Mitt Romney can continue to run ads, bemoaning serious questions about his career as a corporate buyout specialist, but he can't run from his record of leading investments in companies that were pioneers in outsourcing and investing in foreign tax havens and offshore accounts. Smith said in an email. More coverage from
Outsourcing.
Yahoo News.
More outsourcing.
And that's from Yahoo News.
Thank you, Yahoo News. Oh, speaking
And
of
that's-
outsourcing,
Oh,
Ralph Lauren, the maker of the U.S. team's Olympic apparel this year, made in China.
That's
The United States Olympic team's
that's the new,
clothing is made in China.
that's the new American way.
Seems unpatriotic.
Well, it's the new.
No,
it's
that
the
goes
new.
along,
It's the new America.
You know
Yeah.
that song that's a patriotic tune with the cans going off. Da, 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 da,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it right. Or 1812 Overture. Yeah, it was written by a Russian.
Oh,
And
no
that's,
kidding.
That's a big time American patriotic tune.
Well, I guess we're just trying to keep the melting pot melting over the whole world.
Tchaikovsky.
Just melting that pot over everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But we only have a minute here, so I'm going to wrap up quick. July 15th, this is Jim Van Vonderen with Zavla Plate and Gabe Hammer. We're signing off. Is Chuck and Santiago coming?
Chuck and Chuck is here with.
All right. Well, stay tuned for them, and until next week, we'll leave you with a little music from Gabe Hammer. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.